Together we'll see who dies and survives, circled around a sacred fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure called the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Get ready for Chariot Race 2 Electric Boogaloo, because today we are reading Chapter 19, The Chariot Race Ends with a Bang. In this chapter, the fleece is bestowed onto Talia's tree. Tyson gives Percy the best present ever, and the gang comes full circle in many ways.
They do indeed. They do indeed.
There's a pun in there. You can find it. All right. Yes, we have been hanging out with Chiron and friends last chapter, and we now are riding again on the centaurs' backs, which, as we learned last chapter, goes much quicker than just a normal horse ride. And so then that means that they arrive at Long Island just after Clarice, which is really impressive because Clarice took a plane, mind you. Right. And we had all this like conversation time with Chiron in the last chapter.
Yes. And it also means that thankfully, I guess there are enough flights out of Miami to New York City that, Clarice was able to get one for very quickly after
she's
arriving
like
to
on
the
standby at the airport probably. Yeah, I don't remember exactly if it worked differently in the early 2000s, but yes, I'm imagining her like on standby, and then somebody doesn't show up and she like gets in. Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting, even though Percy rides on Chiron's back, they don't talk very much, and Percy kind of goes through this really reflective experience of being like, well, maybe if my dad was Kronos, the Titan Lord who wanted to destroy all of Western civilization, I might also not want to just, chat openly more about him.
That from the rooftops.
Yeah. Maybe we don't want to like dive more into that with Percy on the ride. The joke here is he's not the kind of dad you invited to school for career day. But
I still am not fully over what we discussed in the last chapter about how Zeus, Poseidon, Hades are children of Kronos, and again they're not like, oh no we're terrible,
we can't trust.
Oh no,
we
ourselves. Can't talk about they are no lesser for that, and so that's
but
still
Chiron is to be suspect of things.
Yeah. And part of me kind of wondered if, I know the gods are not human, but they appear most often
tied to humans a lot.
Yes. And because Chiron is, half human, half centaur, I could not but wonder if maybe, him not being 100% tied to humans is maybe an added layer to, the distrust. I also was trying to kind of remember in the mythology the timeline of when Chiron is born versus when Kronos has his kids, and if that kind of adds.
I would guess that Chiron is first, but I don't know for sure. Well, and like we talked about, oftentimes half siblings or step siblings may have rivalries too, and that can be a thing.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, even full siblings.
Well, for sure,
the Olympian gods, for sure. In their own,
just in the particular way of being suspicious of and a different kind of sibling rivalry maybe than full biological siblings,
right?
Yes, and then there's this funny moment where the party ponies are super psyched to meet Dionysus, the party god.
Right.
Because, he threw some really wild parties, which, if you're over 18, go look up what Dionysus did, because it's ridiculous. And wild is an understatement.
Yeah.
Vast understatement. But Dionysus is not really in a celebratory mood, and so unfortunately the party ponies don't get to celebrate with the party god.
Yeah.
Leave that for another day.
Yeah, he's not really, I mean, apart from all the like camp issues aside, because camp is his punishment, he can't drink, he can't turn anything into wine. Nope. I feel like in general, he's not really like ever in a party mood, except for like the one time in the battle where he kind of like, remember he like stays in a bar and he has that like conversation with Percy. He's kind of like, I'm injured, I'm healing, I'm just chilling in a bar where people are having a good time, and like I'll get back to you.
A little bit better. Yeah. No, that's a good point. He is not usually in a party mood at Camp Half-Blood. He's not breaking out the Diet Cokes for anyone. That's for sure.
No.
And Percy goes on to explain some of like what the camp has been through, which I think is just adding this layer on top of the punishment layer for Dionysus. They've had this was sad. I love arts and crafts, and the arts and crafts cabin was burned to the ground from a Draco Ionius, which Percy says is Latin for a really big lizard with breath that blows stuff up, which is such a good name.
It's like a alt version of dragon.
Yeah. Like it basically, yes. Well, and like Draco is dragon, you know?
Right,
so like,
right.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I didn't look it up. Maybe the Ionius part is the fire part. Not sure. But we hear that the big house's rooms are overflowing with wounded campers. That's really intense. The Apollo cabin is rushing around to heal everybody and working overtime. And everybody is just in, like, not at their top state as they're gathering around Talia's tree.
Yeah.
And then it's really interesting because this is Clarice's quest. And so she is the one to drape the fleece onto the tree. And again, I think there's this, like, tension we've been talking about the whole book where, like, Annabeth was really, really close to Talia in a way that Clarice wasn't. And so I don't know. I just imagine Annabeth maybe having like mixed feelings right now of like, I am glad this is happening. And also, gosh, I wish I was like doing the action to like help my friend, you know, like I would probably feel that way, like mixed feelings. But in the read of this book, which is Clarice is the main character, this is like a very triumphant moment.
Yes.
For Clarice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And not just do we hear that, like, kind of similar to when we learned how the island was being, like, enhanced by magically by the fleece. Like, we've got this cool breeze. We've got everything coming into sharper focus. But it's affecting, like, every single facet of the world. Even to the moonlight brightening.
Yes. Going from gray to liquid silver.
I was like, how is the moon, like, okay, so this is, my brain is really, like, trying to understand this, and it's not like it made the sun glow stronger, which bounced off the moon stronger. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to, like, the problem is, like, the magic and the physics, right?
Yeah, no, there's
I'm
no
thinking
physics.
It's like, there's some aura around the fleece that's just enhancing all the features, because even the fireflies are glowing in sharper focus in the woods, and the smell of the strawberries and the sound of the waves are, so it's like enhancing. It almost feels like what it's doing is actually, oh my gosh, back to like eyes and senses. It feels like the fleece, maybe there's a question of like what part of this is the healing that's actually happening, because it does really have healing powers, and what part of it does it affect your perceptions of the experience? Like, it almost feels like what it's doing is sharpening all of their senses, not really changing the qualities of the environment.
Sure. I mean, I think based on the description of the island, it does seem like it changes the qualities of the nature. Like, obviously it can't actually impact the moon.
And it like healed Annabeth, and it's going to heal Talia. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I think it does both.
No, yeah, I agree. It's almost like in healing the nature, you then gain the access to like see it. Like it made me think about how like different animals have different like humans, we can't see all colors and all
spectrums.
What's the word that I'm looking for? And so there are animals who can see,
right, or like dogs who can sniff more or hear more.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's almost like kind of unlocking a new level of experiencing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like the best food you could have would be food that you ate in the presence of the fleece. You know, like all your senses would just be like supercharged.
If food is grown, like I think the best food would be grown, like the strawberries in the strawberry field, I'm sure are like nuts.
Yeah.
After the golden fleece has arrived.
I want to eat that shortcake, that strawberry shortcake they're going to make in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I was just trying to like, it feels like it's affecting so many different things. So I was like, how is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. But specifically for Talia's tree, the needles on the pine are turning from brown to green and everyone is cheering. And very importantly, we are told that it is happening slowly.
Yeah.
This is very, very important. Because we are not in any point in this chapter going to get anything other than it is helping the tree get better. So Percy's kind of interpreting it as like also expelling the poison that the tree had been poisoned with. And Chiron orders a 24/7 guard duty. So we're still doing like guard duty. It's just now very focused on the tree. Until he could find an appropriate monster to protect the fleece. There's two things I want to say here. One is we've been talking so much about like monster ethics. And I think it's really interesting to be like, we'll do it until we can find someone that we can like basically enslave to do it. Right. They're not going to pay this monster. And it's like, oh, we don't like them unless they're useful to us. Exactly.
And like can be controlled for a specific purpose of protect a thing, you know, like, and that is always something that I wanted to understand better because it will be a Draken, right? Like with a K, who I think it guards it. And I always struggled a touch to understand like how there was a monster that was protective only and like not attacking like camp or any of the campers. And,
Is there a spell they're put under? Is there a oath, or is there something that binds the creature to this protective position for some amount of time or indefinitely? Karen loves to do random indefinite oaths, as we know from this book. Or is it like forced in some way? Or is there just like know because he's gonna put the second thing is he's gonna place an ad in Olympus Weekly,
I'm like, is there like a trainer, like a Draken trainer, you know, where there's like they've slightly domesticated trained, you know, like
and then you just pay for it or something,
and like if camp were to be attacked and that monster were to be killed, would it then just turn into dust, be reformed? They'd have to find a different one.
Probably. That would be my guess. Yes, I think that would be my guess. And yes, I like the idea that maybe there's a monster trainer out there. Like, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because with that either way, the ethics feel...
Oh, the ethics are very questionable. They're incredibly questionable. And it's very much picking and choosing, like you were saying, like, only when we want you in the specific way that we want you to be. You know, it feels reminiscent of Tyson v. Polyphemus. We like you when you're this way, we don't like you when you're that way, you know? Type situation. But the ad piece really made me feel like, okay, there must be a supplier. Like
right. This is coming from somewhere. Some unless the Drakens are like reading Olympus Weekly and
that's true. Maybe they're hiring.
And then, maybe they are paid.
I think that's the best option, is that...
Yeah, I don't think that's what's happening, but that would be the best option. Is that, like, Drakens, some Drakens, also just, like, read Olympus Weekly and answer ads.
Yeah.
But this is the second thing that came up for me on this section, is that I got excited because for the subscription box I want to make for, like, Percy Jackson items, the, like... thing that you would get with it is also basically my version of an Olympus Weekly.
Yeah.
And you would have descriptions of items, but also like ads and updates and various in-world things. So I was like getting excited for that all over again.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun to write. But in the meantime, Clarice is carried on her cabin mate's shoulders down. So it seems like whatever animosity they had or whatever made them not join her has been forgiven, or they've moved on from it with her success on the quest. And she is honored with a laurel wreath and a lot of celebrating around the campfire. So Clarice is really getting her due here. And it's not with layers of Tantalus being unfair to everyone else, which feels a lot more satisfying, I think, than when she's like winning because she's excellent and also because the scales are weighted, you know?
Yeah.
And no one's paying attention to Percy or Annabeth. And initially, Percy's like, that's actually great. I love being just a normal camper. And then later he's like, I have more feelings than that, but we'll get there.
Well, and the crucial piece of if any of them admitted that they were had snuck out of camp to do the quest, they would have automatically had to have been expelled. So there is
I had a question about that. So that's what Tantalus said.
Right.
Tantalus is gone.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I mean, maybe, sure. Like, Chiron could have just said something different.
Well, I am trying to remember if that was a Tantalus only one, or if that was, like, an existing one that Tantalus was, like, being really insistent upon enforcing, you know, because they do, pre-Tantalus, they are strict about a lot of stuff, like bedtime is no joke.
I know, but I remember when this was first brought up, I'm pretty sure it was Tantalus, because I remember us talking about, like, do they even expel people from Camp Half-Blood? I remember a conversation where we were like, is expulsion even a thing? Like, we'd never heard about it before. We don't think we hear about it since. It doesn't seem to be a thing. I'm pretty sure Tantalus is the one who says that. I could be wrong. Maybe Mr. D gets in on it. But if it is, my thought is just, sure, we can keep the stakes. It's fine. But, like, if Tantalus is the one who just invented this, which is kind of what it felt like at the time, couldn't Chiron just be like, he was wrong. You're fine. Just don't do it again. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I found the section where he says it, and the way that he does frame it is, let me remind everyone.
Okay.
No one leaves camp without my permission. He does say his own permission. Right.
Again, that's just like his... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a good question. And it is definitely something that is clearly not, like, enforced, because at the end of this chapter, Annabeth is going to, like, publicly say, you know, that, like, none of them would have survived the quest were it not for Tyson, and so...
Right, which is admitting that they were on the quest, and Tyson was there with them. Yeah. Anyway, I just think it's funny to, like, throw the stakes in here when, like, I don't think that they're there anymore. But
it does seem like everyone's operating as if they are there.
Perhaps.
So,
or maybe Percy's saying that to make himself feel better. I don't know.
Remember,
this is our... We've been discussing about how reliable Percy is as a narrator this book.
Yes.
Particularly around measurements, which we're going to get to a scale question in just a little bit. Because, oh my gosh. But just one final one. They had to throw in one final scale question for us. But regardless, people aren't paying attention to them. And so they're just like normal campers. They're just having a good time. They're roasting s'mores. They're listening to the Stoll brothers tell a ghost story about an evil king who was eaten alive by demonic breakfast pastries, which I'm assuming is them getting back at Tantalus.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Clarice is interesting. It's like she just can't help herself, and all of the, like, redeeming things that have happened in this book, she's got to just sort of have one last word.
Yeah, to me, it landed in this really interesting place of, like, I think a piece of her means it, but I also think a piece of her now doesn't mean it and is doing it in a slightly joking way. Like, it came off as both joking and serious to me.
Well, and And Percy, like, smiles at her about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, I think what's serious is Percy's not off the hook with Ares. And
True.
Clarice is still, like, under Ares's thumb emotionally. Like, that relationship dynamic is still, like, that has not changed. So I think, like, her tie to her father and being like, you know, Ares has stated, grudge against Percy, all my children follow suit, like, I think has stayed. But I think they, like, I still felt the growth in this interaction. You know, I was like, it's not all lost.
No, I don't think it undoes it. I just think it, like, pokes at it. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yes. It's still a reminder of, like, there's a lot of growth, and also, like, things don't change fundamentally overnight.
People are people.
Especially, I think, when it's, like on a quest, I think it's different for me at Camp Half-Blood, because on a quest, like, yes, you're still being watched by the gods and all of that, but, like, you're on your own, and I think Camp Half-Blood can... In this way, I was kind of interpreting it as also a little bit of a reminder, like, she's back and she's like, okay, I can't, like, avoid my dad.
Like, reinforce the rivalries and,
Yes, that maybe got to soften, and, like, the very beginnings of the seed of a maybe begrudging friendship, you know, started to form. It's like, now that we're back in the place where it's like, nope, it's rivalry. Nope, we can't fully be on the same team.
Well,
like,
I would argue, actually, that it's not that the gods aren't watching, because Ares is pretty explicitly watching Clarice on this quest and lets her know that, but rather that it's, like, out of necessity, because the quest has such challenges that they encounter that, like, they have to work together and they have to trust each other. And that's doesn't mean they're friends, which I think is her point here. It's like, just because you, and it might even be that because the last act Percy did was something that everyone perceived as being quite generous, of letting Clarice take the fleece, that she's just like, hey, just because you did a really nice thing for me that, like, you didn't have to do, but like, you did it anyway, doesn't mean that we're, like, all the way cool, you know? Like, we're still gonna be rivals, like you said. And she specifically says she's still waiting for the right time to pulverize him, but Percy gives her a grudging smile, and she's just like, what? Like, how can you smile after this clearly super evil threat I just made? Right. And then he's just like, nothing, just good to be home. So it is that sort of, like, we're back in our pattern, but things are way less contentious than they were before, like you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so then we cut to the next morning, and the party ponies are departing back to Florida. And Chiron makes a very surprising announcement that the Chariot races, and it says, would go ahead as scheduled. So I'm guessing that means that Chariot races were scheduled while they were gone on the quest?
I guess Tantalus must have rescheduled them.
Yes, I guess. Because I'm like, we were not aware of them being scheduled at this point in time. No. And everyone is, like, surprised and excited, because they all kind of wrote them off, like, now that Tantalus is gone, the Chariot races are gone. Right. But everyone, kind of except for Tyson, is excited. Tyson is like, I'm not getting back on the Chariot. That's not
thank you.
For me. Thank you so much. But we get the lovely, as part of, like, full circle growth moments, like, we now have Percy and Annabeth on the same team in the Chariot, Tyson serving as pit crew. We have this, like, kind of new trio almost in this fun kind of way, which
we do.
I'm realizing, like, you know, because Grover, as the books progress, he is going to really go more and more off on his own, and Tyson will eventually, you know, as well. But I think it felt nice to, like, still have a trio of some sort.
I agree.
You know,
I agree. It's good for balance.
Lose that.
Rule of threes. Rule of threes is good. Yeah, I think it's interesting that they continue with the races. I think you just go back to, like, the rule of any school for young people in books will be inherently dangerous to said young people while claiming to protect them. And this is just more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. It is just more and more of that. And so we get a little bit of montage via paragraph of like Percy and Annabeth are training. Tyson is working hard on fixing up Athena's chariot. And making
so
lots of modifications
to have a true Hephaestus level mechanic on your side.
Yes, literally. And we get a little breakdown of, because they are two from different cabins, like that they would kind of split the prize, and most of the getting out of chores would go to Athena because they're a much bigger cabin. And we find out that Percy doesn't even really care about the chores. He's just like, I want to win.
He just wants to win.
I don't care about the prize. Like, he's just full competition mode. Like, which I do think.
Go ahead.
I feel a touch, like, one, that definitely feels aligned with Percy as a character, like for him to have this like big competitive streak. I also, especially because the conversation we're about to get into with Hermes, feel like it's the remainder of like he didn't get the quest completion satisfaction, and so he's like needing
as I was gonna say,
win at something.
Exactly. No, I think he's like, I didn't get the quest. I went anyway. I didn't get to do the final victory lap of the quest. I need to win something this summer. like make me the main character again. Yeah, he's absolutely there. And I was so glad to see with the chore split up. This was a question you had. We answered the question.
We did.
Just many, many chapters later.
Yes, we just had to be patient. And then we got the answer and that, you know, it's kind of up to the cabins how they want to split it. Yes. It's for them to decide. And so then the night before the race, Percy is staying late in the stables, kind of brushing the horses, talking to them, giving them pep talks, like, you know,
it's adorable.
I know. He's like, I can train to fight and I can help the horses feel emotionally prepared for a stressful chariot race. When then he gets a surprise visit from Hermes. So again, like really continuing just the parallel like storyline of this book.
It's so mirrored in this one. You're so right about mirrored,
which is just really fun. And Hermes is now, he's in a postal carrier outfit. So like before he was like running in like his like running outfit. He's in his I was about to say USPS, but what would that be like?
It's Olympian? Like Hermes Mail. It's like, you know, like he does have his own. I can't remember what it is, but
But I was thinking like OPS, like Olympian Postal Service.
Yep, that would work. Yep.
And Percy is surprised, and it kind of takes him a second to recognize Hermes. And Percy kind of immediately jumps into, while having a funny internal monologue joke of like, I don't know if I'm supposed to kneel or buy stamps.
Yeah.
But Percy jumps in right away to addressing Luke, because Hermes had asked him, like, talk with Luke, you know, that was part of why Hermes helped him originally. And Percy addresses the whole gods are watching everything, because he talks as kind of like a little bit like, it feels like Percy's like, I'm filling you in, but also you kind of probably already know, like,
you kind of have a sense of what happened, like
what happened. And Hermes has some jokes of himself, because when Percy says that they kind of tried to kill each other in a duel, Hermes is like, you tried the diplomatic approach, I see. Which reminds me of,
got jokes.
I know, it reminds me of the prequels when Anakin and Obi-Wan are like joking about
that's such an Obi-Wan line. You're right.
It is.
Yeah, you're totally right. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But then Percy apologizes to Hermes, being like, you gave us all those awesome things, I know you wanted Luke to come back, he's just turned really bad. And he specifically tells Hermes he feels like you abandoned him. And Percy's kind of waiting for Hermes to get angry or like have some really big reaction. But instead, Hermes just sighs and asks Percy if he ever feels like his father abandoned him. And then Percy kind of proceeds to have this really long, like, internal monologue. None of which he says out loud. But the summary of which is basically, the more that he thinks about it, the more angry he is, and the more he really feels that like sense of abandonment, and that he really wants recognition for the quest, not from his peers, the other campers, but he wants his dad to say something. He wants Poseidon to notice him.
One thing in that Percy digression that I thought was really interesting is the part specifically related to Camp Half-Blood. Is the part where he says there's the whole thing with Tyson, no warning, no explanation, just boom, you have a brother you'd think that deserved, and it's a phone call or something.
Right.
And I just was thinking about Camp Half-Blood and how if Percy was in any other cabin, it would be very, very normal to have new siblings show up without an explanation or a phone call. Yeah. Not that makes it right, just that Percy is in a very unique situation where that is an anomaly for him, and so it's just very interesting for him to not seem to have a recognition of that, and to be like still on this like, you sent a brother to me without telling me unexpectedly kind of thing. Well, you know.
Yes, and also like the added layer of Tyson being a Cyclops, you know, and not like a human brother. Though I think Percy would still have a lot of feelings about a human brother. Yes. I think because like I was just thinking, like, for now, he was raised as an only child. Baby incoming TBD a couple of years. We'll give it a little bit of time. Right. But then, like, he also, arriving at camp, was told, like, you're not supposed to exist, but in this, so that makes you really special, and you're going to be alone. It's like, in a camp full of the complete opposite of like only children, Percy became even more of an only child, and so then it was, I think, a little bit world shattering to be like, huh?
Yeah, right, exactly. This is like the first time for him ever. That's a good point. I just felt like it was interesting in the context of camp that that landed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then we get this really interesting monologue from Hermes where he talks about that the hardest part about being a god is that you have to act indirectly and you can't intervene every time your kids have a problem because it would just create more problems and more resentment. But he tells Percy that if Percy thinks about it, he'll see that Poseidon has been paying attention to him and has been answering his prayers. And the one thing that I wanted to say about this was that there's a difference, in my opinion, I'm speaking to the Olympian gods right now, who are very real, you know.
Yes.
Is that listening. To me, there's a difference. What Percy is saying he wants, and what Luke was saying that he wanted. When Percy says, I wanted my dad to say something to notice me, he's not asking for Poseidon's help or interference in solving his problems. He's asking for attention. He's asking for, acknowledge that I exist, that I am your son, that you feel any sense of emotion towards me, which is completely different from saying, please come and solve all my problems. And Hermes is saying, oh, it's so hard, we can't solve our kids' problems. And I'm like, actually, none of your kids are asking you to do that. None of your kids don't, you have children who like genetically don't want you to do that.
Yeah, Luke also like literally didn't want you to send him on the quest you sent him on. Like that's not what he was asking for.
No. And so I think to me this really showed like the fundamental disconnect between the gods and their children is that literally all the kids, when we see this with kind of all the kids, like we'll see it with Annabeth, like later down on the line with Athena, like they just want FaceTime. They just want like acknowledgement. Presence. Yes. They don't want problem solving. They don't want interference. They just want you're there, you know? And which I think to me is a parallel to a lot of times what like mortal kids just want from their mortal parents is presence, not interference, not butting into my life and trying to solve all my problems for me, just being there, being present, being a figure that I, you know that you can go to.
With Percy, you know, he's saying like he basically wants his dad to be proud of him, so like an affirming presence, let's say.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Like I really think all they're asking for is an affirming presence. And the gods, who clearly don't have to sleep and can do all kinds of wacky magic things, absolutely could take the time out to be an affirming presence to all of their kids. At the bare minimum, like saying, yes, I am your parent is like the starting point that we're going to get. Like, Percy's going to have to twist their arms to do. But like, they have the time, and if they don't have the time, they need to stop having kids, because if they have too many kids, they can't give them enough time. Stop having the kids.
Right.
So, anyway, that would be my half of that rant.
So, it just, it was an interesting thing to me where it's like, it really showed the perspective of the gods, where they see that the only role that they can play in their children's lives is interference and like problem solving. Yeah. Whereas the kids are just asking for, be there.
Yeah. Hey. It's a fundamental misunderstanding. And if we go to the intergenerational trauma of it all, it's like the gods definitely never had that like modeled for them. Like they, you know, they like got eaten by their parent, you know? Yeah. So there's things that maybe they weren't like taught like really good parenting. But they had like 2,000 years to learn it. And so there's really no excuses here.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But Hermes ends this with saying that all he can do is kind of hope that Luke realizes that Hermes has answered his prayers in the way that Poseidon has answered Percy's, and he leaves Percy with like, whatever, however you feel you did, whether you succeeded or not, basically at the end of the day, that Percy reminded Luke who he was, and he says you spoke to him, and that really left me thinking about how like fundamentally what wins the day is like not giving up on Luke's humanity and remembering that he still has his humanity. And I think you spoke to him is such a powerful line in this sense, because it's Hermes. It's so funny because it's like, it's Hermes appreciating
that's
Percy
what I'm saying,
for doing what the kids are just asking
just
their
you do that
godly parents to do.
Yeah, if you had just done more of that.
Yeah. Yes. We'd have a lovely series of books of Percy at some point discovering he's a demigod and be like, that's fun.
I know. And, you know, well, and that's true of the thing I said about schools being dangerous too. It's like, never did we want to read a book where like there was a school where kids went to and nothing bad ever happened. The end. You know, it's a very short book when they don't put the kids in danger at school.
And we kind of go on because Percy is like, well, but we fought to the death, like, you know.
Yeah, like I really genuinely, he tried to kill me, I tried to kill him. Like,
yes. Yeah. And Hermes is kind of like, well, what can you do? Families are messy, especially immortal ones. And I was like, yep. And he also says that sometimes the best we can do is to remind each other that we're related, which to me felt like another way of just being like, reminding each other of our humanity and like a reason.
Well, and it reminds me of his family speech at the beginning of the book too, because that's kind of what he was focused on.
Yep. And then Percy kind of reflects on like maybe Hermes is right, and he kind of recounts everything that Poseidon did that was helpful, like sending the hippocampi, giving him powers over the sea that he'd never known about before, and then he finally connects like Tyson as potentially being one of these forms of aid, and he's like, did Poseidon bring us together on purpose? And how many times did Tyson save my life this summer? And we're screaming, finally!
I know, I wrote, finally! There you go! Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Percy.
Which will be so interesting when we get to the point where Tyson is saying that Poseidon answered his prayers.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Via Percy, you know, and
so cute.
Yeah. But then we get the Contran signaling curfew, and we start to kind of wrap up this interaction with Hermes getting to the point of his arrival, which is that actually, like, he really only came to deliver something. And we get this funny thing of like Percy having to sign for it, which I think feels mostly for the gag of the stylus George Martha,
having the snakes on it, which, oh god, no.
Yeah, that's your nightmare.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
And we get a funny little George Martha moment, because, you know, Percy drops it in surprise, not expecting it to be snakes and George and Martha. And George asks about the rat, or, you know, and then makes a joke when Percy's like, no, I didn't. He's like, what about a guinea pig? And Martha's like, hey, George, don't be mean.
Yeah. Which really, like, speaks to how, like, you know, the Olympus TV, they're always watching demigod reality TV. Like, they're tuned in. Even George and Martha know what happened on the quest, and that Percy went to Circe's island.
Yeah, and got turned into a
like,
guinea
they
pig.
know details.
They do. And so Hermes hands Percy a sea blue envelope, which before he even opens, he can tell that it's from Poseidon. He can sense his power in the cool blue paper, as if the envelope itself had been folded out of an ocean wave, which I just loved the description of that and thought that was really cool. And as Hermes exiting, he wishes Percy good luck tomorrow, compliments the team of horses, but says, but I'll still be rooting for Hermes. And we find out, and in addition to Martha and George knowing everything probably just from, TV and picking up on stuff, Martha's reading the mail.
I read that. I was like, they read the mail?
I was like, geez, Mosa, you're reading his mail.
Is that not, illegal for the gods to do?
Well,
for magical creatures?
Ruled by US
OPS has different
policy.
rules than USPS.
Mm-hmm. Because she tells Percy not to be too discouraged when he reads it, and says he does have your best interests at heart. And Percy tries to ask a follow-up question, and George's like, and Hermes is like, enough, we gotta go. And
50 million more deliveries to do tonight.
Yes, Hermes reveals his true divine form to exit. Percy looks away just in time so that the book series can continue on. And we then go to taking in what this letter is and what's in it. And so he takes a moment staring at it. There's this it's strong but elegant. I was like, it'd be strong and elegant.
I know.
They don't have to be,
those are opposites.
Yeah, you can't be strong and elegant at the same time.
No, you can't.
Especially in handwriting.
Nope.
But he recognizes the handwriting from the package that Poseidon had sent him last summer, i.e. Medusa's head, which I'm just like, does that mean that Poseidon is there hand addressing it? Or is it that an assistant has strong and elegant handwriting that's doing it for him?
That's a good question.
It would, considering how much his wife and his son later down the line don't love Percy and his existence, I could imagine Poseidon maybe needing to address those things himself.
Yeah, I'm guessing he did do it. Maybe he has a magical way of doing it, but I'm guessing he does do this personally. Yes.
Yeah. And Percy gets so excited because he's like, this is an actual letter from my father. He's thinking maybe it'll tell him he's done a good job at getting the fleece. Maybe he'll explain about Tyson or apologize for not talking to him
sooner. And we get the Camp Half-Blood full address, which is cool.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah.
Also for potential merch ideas.
There's Percy has so many hopes about what this letter will say.
Yeah.
And he opens it and finds two simple words printed in the middle of the page, and they say, brace yourself.
Brace yourself.
And that's all that Percy gets. And the question that I had, which I know is a question we've discussed before, is how do the gods know?
Yeah.
How
and Percy, so Percy even wonders that later. We'll get to that, but he even wonders, does Poseidon know specifically what's going to happen, or does he just know that something is brewing?
Right.
I will say, Chiron already has a sense that something bad is going to happen too, and so I don't know if I have a strong opinion. Do you have a strong opinion of if you think Poseidon knows for sure?
I honestly don't, because, I guess if I have a thought on the way for it to make sense.
Okay.
So I'm thinking back to the way that the Lightning Thief ended, and Zeus and Poseidon were quite dismissive about the threat that Kronos posed. I feel like it is unlikely that the gods can see specific events. More so maybe that with something like this, they can sense to a certain degree something big is about to happen. Yeah. That feels that would make the most logical sense to me to explain why the gods are not believing that Kronos poses such a great threat that he does at the end of the Lightning Thief. Yeah. Because if they could see specific events ahead of time, I'm like,
yeah.
What?
They'd be really just turning away from something they knew. Yeah. And from a writing perspective, it's necessary. Because I like that we mostly stay in world and how we analyze things. Every once in a while, I think it's good to think about the writing perspective. And from a writing perspective, I think what's crucial here is that this chapter does not end on a cliffhanger. And so it's like an interesting, possibly one of the only chapters in all the books where the cliffhanger is in the middle of the chapter.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is cool. And like the seeds were planted, leading up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, so we can get into Percy's like thinking about it. The next morning, everyone's like excited for the chariot race because that's what everyone has been preparing for so long. And they're all like glancing nervously to the sky because they're like, I would be too. Like they have PTSD from the Snyphalian birds. Yeah. Yeah. That was terrifying. But it's a beautiful summer day, blue sky, no birds in sight. This is good. And the camp also is like coming back to life because it had been like poisoned and sad. Because we have to remember, like, it wasn't just the tree; it was like the whole camp was suffering.
Right, right. And now, for just a quick timeline thing in terms of that phrasing of the fleece working slowly, it has been, we got a 2-day jump in time because they spent the next 2 days training like crazy that evening before the race. So race day, we're probably closing in on that evening would be like the 3-day mark, of like since the fleece got placed. That's interesting. So like the meadows looking green and lush, like it is looking much more back to life, but obviously the fleece still has more to do.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much time, I don't remember how much time is going to pass in the last chapter. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just know going into it that it's been about 3 days because this will be very interesting. I'm curious how quickly it takes a tree to rid, or a fleece to rid everything of poison and then bring it back to such an extent that that we kind of raise the dead. Yeah. The golden fleece can do what the genie in Aladdin cannot do. True. Is what I'm realizing. Because I just heard Raise the Dead in like Robin Williams' voice when I said it.
If Talia is actually dead, that goes back to our question from many episodes ago of like, what is her status? We don't know. Like,
at least raise the severely unconscious.
Yeah. Existing on some other plane that is not this mortal
in tree form and where we don't know. We don't know all the details. Yeah. But yes, the meadows are looking green and lush, and again, it's like the white columns gleamed on the Greek building. So this is where I'm saying, like, I think it's also just affecting their senses, like all of the human senses that they have, not just I don't know that the fleece polished the columns.
Sure. It's kind of making me think of stay with me here. So you know how in the Thunderbolts movie when Sentry is doing his like dark mode where he like is sucking the color out of like New York City and it's like snatching people away. Yes. Everything's like dark and grayed out. It feels like
it's like the opposite.
Poison was like doing that to the camp, because it was sucking the life out of it. And so in returning it's like when New York City comes back to being like bright and
vibrant.
Yeah. That it's just like it brings the color back so much. Right. That it's like,
well, and we know that it's like, and then some, because when they take it away from the island, it's not like the island like all just dies. It's like, it's just less amazing.
Yeah. So the saturation is turned all the way up.
Yes. That's what it seems like. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I'm still curious about that. But luckily it's making the dryads happy, and I'm sure the naiads are also happy. Everybody's happy. So it's good. Yeah. The vibes are good, essentially. But Percy was miserable. So everyone's happy except Percy. Or we're back to kind of our status quo, I feel like. Yeah. Just, for the books. So he's been lying awake all night after being in the stables because of this brace yourself, which is...
Sorry, really quick. I just want to interject to lead to the parallels that the night before the chariot race was when he got that Grover dream that really stressed him out. And he was trying to talk to Annabeth.
Man, it's such a symmetry. It's such a symmetrical book. That's such a good point. And like, just PSA, I have to do a quick PSA here. This is why you don't give people nebulous, scary information at night before they're trying to go to sleep. Just like, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. This was bad. This was bad timing. I would have said this for not the night mail. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, that aside, Percy is like, he goes to the trouble of writing a letter and he just writes 2 words. Like, he's just also annoyed that, like, there's so many more things he wanted his dad to tell him, and he just writes these 2 ominous and quite, like, is oblique the right word? Like not to the point, not very clear kind of words.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's literally, it's like proving the point that the whole Hermes discussion was about, which is that, like, just like
like, be there. Yeah. Even if he had just been like, I'm proud of you, also literally. Brace yourself, Percy would probably feel better. Yeah. Right? Like, okay. But because Martha says not to be too disappointed, Percy is doing his Percy thing, and he's trying to kind of like make it make sense, because that's what Percy does. Yeah. And so, like, he's saying what we thought at the beginning, which is like, maybe Poseidon doesn't know exactly what's going to happen, but he does think that Percy will be better off if he's warned. Yeah. Which is like the kindest reading you can do of Poseidon sending this.
What's playing letter in my head is the West Side Story, like, something's coming, don't know what that
totally.
Except, like, scary and not,
who knows?
Like, you know.
It's like in a minor. Yeah, absolutely. Could be. Yeah, it's one of those. So he tries to focus on the race, though, because he, as we learned, really, really wants to win this race.
Oh, yeah.
And so what we learn about Tyson's work is that he has added bronze reinforcements, the chariot is gleaming, the wheels are realigned with magical suspension, so they're like gliding, they're turning smoothly. This is like a slick machine. Wheels. Yeah. Very much. And yes, we have 2 javelins. So Tyson has also helped with some weapons. And they've got 3 different buttons. He's been so busy. The first one has a razor wire that will tangle an opponent's wheels. Very useful. Yeah. The second is a blunt but painful bronze spearhead that will knock someone over. And the third is a grappling hook that you could use to lock on to a chariot or push it away. So those are the options. It's funny, we have 3 options of what to do with them, but we only have 2. So inevitably, we'll only see up to 2 functions of it. It's kind of an interesting thing to do. But we love options.
Kind of have all your bases covered with your weapon so you can pick the most useful. You know, it is a very convenient way of being like, because there's only so much that they can have with them. So it's like, have something that could be used for whatever you need in the moment, rather than only have a javelin with like one setting.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's already chosen it for you. No, it's super. I mean, Tyson is so good at mechanics. Like, this whole section is just all about that, basically. Yeah. And just in general, this whole book, Tyson is just so... we're both just like, yes, so important. Like, he does everything.
He's so crucial.
He's so crucial. It doesn't happen without him. So Percy feels pretty good for the race, but that Tyson's like, be careful, because, you know, the other teams still have plenty of tricks up their togas, which I'm like, are they wearing togas, or is this a figure of speech? Because that would be funny. I like imagining that they're all wearing togas.
They're all having to be really, like, I was about to joke and say biblically accurate in there.
Yeah. Mythologically accurate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we get the wristwatch, which is very exciting. So he hands Percy a wristwatch that doesn't look special. This is reminding me too of Percy's sword, just as a quick side note. Like,
totally.
Anaklusmos is like a regular pen that just you take the cap off.
Ballpoint pen. Yeah.
Just like the most standard pen that you could like find, like one of those big like black pens or something. And this is just a white and silver clock face with a black leather strap, and it doesn't look like anything special. So I just think it's interesting that these really, really special magical items then become very inconspicuous in their non-magical forms. You know?
Yes. Well, and it does seem like all items have their way of concealing themselves, like, to the mortal world, but it does feel like a particular, like, theme for Percy, that he has ones that look like that turn into looking like basic everyday objects that look incredibly.
I think it goes with Percy's like skater boy vibe. Like I almost would feel like someone like Jason would have something that felt more gallant,
regal. Yes.
You know, like he would have like the wood carved pen or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because of like their vibes.
100%. Absolutely.
Like Zeus would never, I think, have like a regular black ballpoint, you know? So yeah, it's like, it's that surfer vibe, I think.
Yeah.
But Percy realizes that this is what Tyson has been working on all summer. And then we have a really funny ADHD moment where he's like, I don't usually like to wear watches. Who cared what time it was? And I was like, oh, that's part of the problem, but that's so funny.
Yeah. Also, this whole interaction, I found myself just getting, I was like, Percy, my guy, just ask, writing-wise, I love that we don't know what the watch does until mid-race. I love that from writing perspective. From me, just a human being perspective, I was like, Percy, just ask him. Stop being like,
what it is.
Oh, it's just a normal wristwatch.
I know.
Oh, he says if you need
the
protection,
button does
hit the
something.
Button. He's like, okay, I mean, I don't know how keeping time is going to help. And it's like, dude, it is obviously not just.
He's been working on it all summer.
You've seen what he can do. It's not just regular wristwatch. Like, it does more. And if you just ask him, be like, hey.
I feel like these are the things you can kind of get away with writing for Percy because, like, exactly what I just said about his character. Like, if Annabeth didn't ask what something did, I'd be like, that's not real.
Yeah.
But Percy just being like, cool, thanks, dude. Like,
right. I feel like
Percy.
because he's like, he doesn't usually wear watches. He's not interested in them. So he's not interested in, like, learning more about this. Because he's like,
interspaced nervous systems are, you know, a big thing with ADHD.
Yes, that he's just kind of like, oh, I love Tyson now, so I will accept the gift and I will wear it. But I'm not interested in learning more about it, even though he specifically tells me it will protect me in the race if needed.
Right. But it is funny because then I was thinking about it because I was like, I do, like, as much as I can lose time and I can be late to things, like, I do keep track of time. But then I was like, in my ideal world, would I want to know what time it was? And I was like, okay, no. Like, on a day where I don't have anything to do, gosh, I love to never look at my phone. Like, I love to never know what time it is and just, like, move through life fully intuitively.
Yes.
So I think it makes sense.
Yeah. No, any weekend with you where it was like, oh, hey, we need to, like, you know, at some point today plan a thing. I need to know what's happening when. I do not do well with a nebula. So at some point today.
No, you don't.
We'll get to this. I'm sitting there going, but at what point? Because otherwise I will just sit there doing nothing because I don't feel that I can do anything because I don't know at what point we're doing something. And
I'm like, I don't know at what point I'll feel like doing it.
Right.
So, like,
and that
preferably at that point.
I live and die by
and yet
the
we
clock.
make a podcast together.
I know. Hey, and it works. But yeah, I live and die by a clock and you want to burn it and never have to.
I really would. I really would be perfectly happy to live, like, timelessly. Oh, what a life. Maybe one day. But yes, I think all these reasons are pointing to why Percy does not ask more questions.
Yeah.
Also, he is, like, excited for the race. He's, like, focused on what he knows is coming. You know, all the things. Okay, so he doesn't feel like he can say no to Tyson. He gets the watch. He puts it on. He's like, fine. He's just told, well, and Tyson is too sweet. Way too sweet. He, like, apologizes for not finishing it before the trip. I'm like,
I have a rant incoming when we reach the end of this section.
I'm sure you do. I'm excited. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. No, I'm sure you do. But it's like, Percy didn't ask him to make this. He did it of his own
I know.
I just want Tyson, I mean, I want everyone in this book to go to therapy, but I just want Tyson to go to therapy and, like, just be validated, like, an hour a week for, like, 50 weeks until he like stops apologizing for existing. That's all I want.
I know.
But, and, like, Percy's response is, hey man, no big deal. And I'm like, not the right answer. Not the right answer to apologizing for not
Percy.
finishing a gift that you didn't ask for that he made for. I'm just,
whatever. I know.
Anyway. Okay. We'll get to the rant. We will. I promise. Okay, so he explains, like you said, that if Percy needs protection in the race, that he should hit the button on the watch. Mm-hmm. So Tyson just leaves him with that information. And like you said, from a writing perspective, this lets us have a surprise, which we will get to. So Percy is at least moved that Tyson is concerned about him. So that's something. He promises he'll remember the watch. And then he stutters, trying to figure out how to apologize for all of the terrible ways that he expressed being embarrassed about having Tyson as a brother. Yeah. And clearly, hasn't thought this through.
I know. Which also, it feels like a very, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like an ADHD thing where it's you've been back for 2 days, you had time, but now it's in the moment of getting a gift right before the race is going to start, it's is this actually the moment? Or
I don't know that done this? The way that I read it is less of an ADHD thing and more of a Percy is not sure how to do this apology. Yeah. And it's more of I'm kind of annoyed at Percy for I think what's spurring this is the gift.
The gift, yes.
And it's making him feel bad that he hasn't apologized. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, my take on it wouldn't be that he's procrastinating because ADHD, is that he's procrastinating because discomfort. I could be wrong. Yeah. Maybe there's a both and element here, but I really think that Percy is struggling to take accountability for his
100%. Absolutely.
Yes. So, he's remembering everything that, he had said, Tyson saw his real brother, and he was embarrassed, and, he doesn't know how to find the words, which I'm just the words are, I'm sorry, sorry. And then say those things that you're thinking in your head. But anyway, and then Tyson just, your heart when you're reading this chapter is just...
I know.
He's just really good at tugging on the heartstrings, man. Yeah. And he's I know what you will tell me. I'm just going to read a little bit of what Tyson says. Mm-hmm. He says, I know what you will tell me. Poseidon did care for me after all. And then Percy's just well...
That wasn't what I was going to tell you.
That wasn't, actually. And then Tyson says, he sent you to help me, just what I asked for. And then Percy is surprised and is you asked Poseidon for me? And Tyson says, for a friend. He asked Poseidon for a friend. Young Cyclopes grow up alone on the streets, learn to make things out of scraps, learn to survive. And then Percy says, but that's so cruel. And I'm you knew this already, I think.
Yeah, I know.
But, okay.
Yeah.
And then he just says, makes us appreciate blessings. Then we have a dig at Polyphemus for absolutely no reason. He's comparing himself to Polyphemus, and he says that he appreciates blessings and isn't greedy and mean and fat like Polyphemus. And I'm just first of all, as we've talked about 50 million times on this podcast, fat shaming, bad. Also equating fatness with greediness is a classic, terrible association. Bad, wrong, etc. Do you have any thoughts on this particular moment?
I have so many thoughts. See all of our previous episodes where we have ranted about the fat phobia of it all, and it's completely unnecessary.
And in this case, also internalized oppression that Tyson has in putting down another Cyclops. Yeah, which is
right.
Oftentimes what can happen with internalized oppression.
The thing for me that I felt incredibly strongly when reading that was him saying that growing up alone on the streets, learning to make things out of scraps, him saying being a young Cyclops and the standard being to be abandoned and left for yourself and fend for yourself is what makes them appreciate blessings and not be greedy and not be mean. I just had a really strong reaction to abandonment and trauma is not necessary to be kind. Yeah. It's really not. You can appreciate you can appreciate blessings, you can have empathy, you can be a sharing and caring person without having been abandoned and gone through traumatic things. And like, to me, this feels like if I think about it from Tyson's perspective, it feels like a way of making it make sense and make it be okay to have been abandoned, you know, and to be like, well, it's what makes me, you know.
I think it's like a common, it's almost like, I would argue, and this is not a official psychological theory I'm sharing here. Yeah. This is a off the dome, my thoughts. Yeah. I would argue that the order of processing your trauma often happens over time, potentially in this case, developmental complex trauma. Then you have to, like, at some point along that way or after, recognize that you've experienced trauma. Like, understand that is what that is. Yes. And that one of the first steps after that is to make it make sense, because humans are, like, meaning makers. And a lot of the time, the thought, I wouldn't be who I was today without this having happened to me. And that makes me feel better about it having happened and who I am today. Like, just that's a very understandable, natural reaction that I think is very common, and one of the first steps to, like, processing and integrating, like, traumatic experiences, especially without the support of, like, a therapist.
Absolutely. I completely agree, and fully feel that that's what Tyson is doing here. And my anger at that is not being like, Tyson, no.
Oh, no, I know.
Yes. It's like anger at, like, Tyson having to make meaning out of horrific things that happened to him. And again, just being like, you were abandoned by a parent who had a responsibility, by parents who had responsibilities to you, who did not, like, who decided to not claim any responsibility to you, over you. And Poseidon doing one thing one time is not in my book. I am not letting Poseidon off the hook.
Oh, absolutely not.
For any of it. Especially, like, because Tyson goes on to say that there was a Sphinx on 72nd Street. There was a big bully.
And that's how he got the scars that Percy noticed but didn't ask about at the beginning of the book.
And that's when he prayed for help. And Tyson then says, sorry for the second time. He says, sorry, I said Poseidon was mean. He sent me a brother. And this is where I want to rant for a second time about the fact that Tyson apologizes twice to Percy for things he has no business apologizing for.
And Percy never apologizes.
Apologizes in any way. He doesn't even get close to apologizing. He doesn't even get close to anything resembling that if you gave someone all the grace in the world, you could say, I'll accept that as an apology. Like, he doesn't even...
He's got one more chapter to do it. He's got one more chapter. I don't remember if he does.
I think especially coming off of, like, when all that time in the Sea of Monsters where Percy thinks Tyson is dead, and he's like, all I wish I could do is talk to him, say I'm sorry, make up for everything he did. And I'm like, and he's there, and you're not doing it. And
Percy has a track record, though, of this, because he promises that he's going to tell Annabeth she's a genius, and then he
does it while she's asleep.
As far as we can tell, only does it while she's asleep. So I do think that he struggles, and we can go back to how old he is and all the things, but, like, I do think he struggles with, like, follow through on these impulses. Like, he doesn't quite complete the good intentions he has inside once he has them. Agreed. And I was gonna say too that I think that, like, the reason I brought up how that's a common thing to go through is that I think then it becomes a common societal understanding or phrase. And so, like, I would actually direct some anger also at, like, the pervasiveness of that message. Like, I think people who maybe could know better still spread this message that, like, you have to suffer. Also, it's very, like, Puritan roots in the Western world to be like, you have to suffer to be a good person. So I just think there's a lot of, like, layers there that go into not just Tyson thinking this, but, like, this having been written in a book, right? Like, this having been a correlation that's made in a book that is really problematic and, like, should be unpacked more, and we should change the way that we talk about trauma.
Right. Yes. And is also untrue. And you have not watched the show, but I will reference it for anyone who has. I was thinking about, when Tice was saying that, my brain immediately went to the pit, which I don't know, Anna, how aware you are of the pit.
Not very much.
So for you and for anyone who doesn't know, it's this incredible medical drama show on HBO. It's like known for being incredibly realistic. And it takes place in an ER in Pittsburgh, and a season follows a full, I think it's like 15-hour shift for like the doctors and nurses and everyone in the ER. And the season 2 that aired this spring really, in my opinion, showed like when you get so burnt out and traumatized via the job that you have, because there are like doctors, and like the main doctor in the show, who to me is very clearly just like deeply traumatized for having worked in an ER for so long, and an ER that's like an intense one to work in, that like he actually in season 2 he is quite unkind to a lot of people, like the other doctors and nurses and stuff. And I'm like, oh, because you are so severely traumatized and you're not working through it, you're not helping yourself in any way, you are like so unbelievably burnt out from this job. Like you are running on negative amounts of empathy and compassion. Yeah. And so just also that like the whole, it doesn't,
like, that's not like a correlation.
It's not even a causation, across the board truth, to like, having gone through terrible things makes you appreciate blessings and
because it's like, on the other hand, it's like you have the hurt people trope, which is also not always true. Exactly. And it's like that feels like in opposition to this idea that's also very pervasive, and just shows us that there is like many ways to be wrong about trauma.
Yes, and trauma is
complicated.
And everyone reacts and responds to it differently and internalizes it differently.
It has different resources and supports.
Yes.
And just a brief digression on your digression, because I think it's interesting, really quickly, is like something I do when I do work with supporting the mental health of immigration attorneys, is like, you can have direct trauma from your job. You can have vicarious trauma, which is like the contact with people who are traumatized, and you can have burnout. And you could potentially have all three of those things. So like this doctor you're talking about, like that's
has all three.
Has all three, and it's hard to disentangle. But the reason that I bring that up is because burnout and secondary trauma in particular have symptoms that include things like being callous or being disconnected from like other humans, having less empathy, like diminished empathy. So it makes a lot of sense and can go. And I think you would see that in some of the characters in the books too, of like who have diminished empathy because like Luke, because of their own traumatic experiences as well. So it can go in many directions, and there's many ways that we misinterpret the effects of trauma in conclusion. Yes. So we do learn about the scars, that they were from the Sphinx on 72nd Street, and that then he was asking for a friend, that he ends up being able to go to the school with Percy and meets Percy. And then we don't even have a moment for Percy to... I mean, Percy's just like making the least. And if someone can make the most of an opportunity and moment, Percy is making the least of this opportunity and moment to do anything. And he just stares at the watch that Tyson made. That's it. No more attempts at apologizing. And then Annabeth calls to Percy to come on because Chiron is at the starting line, ready to blow the conch. Yes.
And Percy tries one. He goes, Tyson... ... And Tyson's just like, no, you'll win, go on. It's really like, I'm sorry, takes like less than a second, to say.
There's an additional symmetry in this book. You were really annoyed at Percy at the beginning of the book, and I get to be annoyed at Percy at the end of the book.
That's true. We're coming full circle.
As I said, full circle in many ways.
In many a way. Percy does manage to tell him that they'll win this one for Tyson. Which I just continue to be like, and in those words you could have said, I'm so sorry for not being kind to you.
We'll win this for you. Yeah. Right.
But they get into position, Chiron blows the starting signal, and they're off. And I'm going to try to kind of summarize this, like the whole chariot race pretty briefly, because it's mostly, like, it's a very exciting action sequence.
It is.
I think it's really cool. I think it's so well written. It's very fun. It's so visual. Like,
I'm excited to watch the show when we're done with the book and see how they did.
I know, because it feels like you're watching a movie, like, while reading it. But basically, they shoot off so quickly that Percy might have fallen off had his arms not been wrapped in, like, the leather reins, which I liked that as a visual for showing, like, how quickly they're going. Because, like, when you're riding horse regularly, you don't wrap your arms in the reins. You can just hold on to them. But they're
also just a visual of how you do a chariot race. Because, like we talked about at the beginning, like, I didn't have in my head what a chariot looks like and how it functions until they described it to me in the book. Yeah.
Yes. And everything's, like, going smoothly at the beginning. In the first turn, they're, like, way ahead of Clarice, who's, like, busy fighting off the Hermes chariot. But we get the first attack from Apollo's chariot. And Annabeth throws her first javelin in a grappling hook mode to knock away a net that would have really gotten them. But it says before Annabeth could rearm herself, so it makes me wonder if these are more like loaded javelins that they can, like, rearm in the way that you'd rearm, like, another type of weapon.
I think it just means before she could grab the next javelin.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Because she's throwing it. Like, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. That's true. But Apollo does get them on their right wheel with a javelin. And so we've gone from a perfectly smooth ride to a kind of lurchy wobbly one. Yep. And again, shout out to Tyson, because the chariot doesn't just, like, collapse. It stays strong.
So impressive. Yeah, even with some spindles being snapped.
Yep. And so they're coming neck and neck with Apollo. Hephaestus is coming close behind. And so we have more kind of, like, interactions with the Apollo chariot, some, like, yelling back and forth. Annabeth takes her second javelin, which, thank you that your wording was correct, because Percy's like, it's kind of a risk. We've got more.
I think it's confusing because it's like rearming herself, but it's like that just means she's rearming her, not like rearming the javelin. Yeah.
Yes. But she perfectly throws it at the Apollo driver. And basically takes them completely out because she gets the driver, and so they topple out of their chariot, like, everything, like, the horses go a little wild.
Out. Yeah,
they're completely out. But they're holding together. We're getting some creaks and moans from their chariot. The wobbling wheel is making them slow down a little bit, but they're still in the game. And Hephaestus' team is now gaining on them, and Beckendorf is excited to use one of his many tricks on their team, and he gets steel cables to shoot out of the front of his mechanical horses. So cool. They're riding those or using those, and it wraps around their back rail, and basically to kind of, like, pull their chariot closer to the Hephaestus one. And Annabeth is trying to, like, cut through them with her knife. It's not working. They're too thick. So Percy has them, like, switch places. Basically, Annabeth is now taking the reins, and Percy's now the one in more of, like, the fighting defense mode. He's able to very quickly cut the cables with Riptide, which allows them to, like, move forward a little bit more quickly. But all of this has allowed Beckendorf and the Hephaestus one to kind of catch up much closer to them, because they're able to pull up literally onto their left. And we get some more, like, actual hand-to-hand combat, because Beckendorf is using his sword, and Percy's having to, like, defend Annabeth, who's now driving the chariot, and they're coming around on the last...
Which, in the meantime, crucially, before that, Beckendorf has thrown a leather pouch in the chariot.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Which is billowing green smoke. Annabeth identifies as Greek fire, which will explode. Like, they're on a timer.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're coming up on the last turn in this, and Percy's like, I have to figure out what to do. Clarice is now making headway like behind them. And finally Percy remembers the watch, and he's like, I don't know how it can help, but he manages to push the stopwatch button, and instantly the watch changes, the metal rims spiraling outward like an old-fashioned camera shutter, a leather strap wrapping around his forearm until he's holding a round war shield 4 feet wide, the inside soft leather, the outside polished bronze engraved with designs he didn't have time to examine. So okay. I want to, like, the mechanical marvel that it is to fit a 4-foot wide shield to collapse inside of a regularly sized wristwatch is unreal.
Okay, but that's magic that I can deal with. Like, how tall is Percy? Because 4 feet is really, really big.
Well, I guess if it's because it's a circle, that means that it's...
that's the diameter. Percy's a 13-year-old, right?
Yeah. In theory.
Okay, a 13-year-old average height is 5'1" to 5'2". I am not that much taller than a 13-year-old. Okay, so he's got like a foot on this shield. Mm-hmm.
But if it's held centered in front of him, it's kind of... Well, he's only working with like 6 inches up and 6 inches
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's amazing because that's a great defense. And maybe Greek soldiers had shields. I don't know, because I don't know that much about Greek weaponry. We should maybe talk like on one of those interviews you want to do. We should have a Greek weapons expert.
Yes, well, especially so cool. And Greek armor expert, because I was with the new Christopher Nolan Odyssey movie coming out. There's been a lot of discussion about how like films have the films. Interpretations of like ancient Greek and Roman armor is not actually like accurate to the armor worn. It's just armor inspired by it that looks really cool on screen. And if they wore actually like time period accurate armor, it would look completely different. So anyways, yeah.
Yes, I think that would be very interesting. And so maybe because that's like effective to a certain degree, right? But I just like am imagining all of the future times that Percy's gonna pull out the shield, and in my mind, kind of like Polyphemus was so much bigger.
I know.
In my mind, the shield was not most of Percy's height. Yeah, like he was more flexible with it. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's more like the one I have here. That like you would move around to protect yourself. So we just couldn't escape the book without another question about scale.
No.
But comes in useful here because the whole issue is that Percy cannot fend off Beckendorf with his sword and also reach to grab the Greek fire pouch and get it out of the chariot. So like totally is perfect for this particular moment, just bigger than I remembered.
Same, and bigger than I ever pictured in my mind. Yeah. But yeah, Beckendorf is completely taken off guard by it. And actually, when his sword clings against it, his blade shatters.
Yeah, that's wild.
It shatters.
Yes.
It shatters.
It's such a strong shield.
This is an unreal shield. And it's going to save Percy's life so many times in the future. Like, I'm just thinking about Titan's Curse and how helpful this sword is in that book.
Absolutely.
But this really comes so much in clutch because Percy is then able to knock Beckendorf in the chest with the shield and send him flying out of the chariot. And then he uses... he's going to use Riptide to attack the driver, but Annabeth reminds Percy about the Greek fire and that it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's like so distracted by the shield that he forgets like why he needed it in the first place.
But he smartly uses the tip of his sword to get under the leather pouch and then flip it up like a spatula. And he gets it dislodged from their chariot and flying into the Hephaestus chariot to just immediately take them out of the running. It's interesting because he sends it to the driver's feet, and the driver, an unnamed Hephaestus, cabin member, makes the right choice in a split second, dives out of it, which then immediately careens away and explodes into green flames. So I'm just like, the danger and the kind of casual, like, uh-oh, if you pause for a second longer, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Because of a chariot race.
Well, they did say that, like, the last chariot, like, the chariot races were canceled because they had so many fatalities and injuries.
Yes.
So, like,
yes.
Yeah, kids have died during these races before.
Yes. And so Hephaestus now completely taken out, and also it kind of starts to interfere with the Ares and the Hermes chariot. They have to like swerve to avoid the Hephaestus chariot, and Annabeth is pulling on the reins for the last turn. Percy's holding on. He's like, sure, they're going to capsize, but somehow she brings them through, them and the horses across the finish line. The crowd roars. We like end on this incredible high. Everyone's cheering. They're being mobbed. Their names are being chanted. And then Annabeth is like, wait, no, everybody listen. I have a speech to make.
And it's Annabeth who starts this.
I know. And the crowd didn't want to be quiet, but Annabeth is like, I shall be heard. And she specifically says, we couldn't have done it without somebody else. We couldn't have won this race or gotten the fleece or saved Grover or anything. We owe our lives to Tyson, Percy's, and then before she can finish, Percy interjects and says, brother, Tyson, my baby brother. Which, quick question.
Yeah.
It made me realize for the first time, Percy always refers to Tyson as his baby brother. Do we know that Tyson is actually younger than Percy? Because this could be like a satyr situation, where Grover's actually older than Percy, but they matured at different times.
My assumption is that Tyson in the years we count as human years is younger than Percy.
Okay. Because I was just like, Percy doesn't actually know that. Like, he doesn't know when Tyson was born.
No.
To know, like...
No, he doesn't.
How long have they both been on this earth?
Yeah, this is something I think I kind of overlook and kind of just assume that it's true.
I always have too, until this time I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it could certainly be that he has had more years on Earth, but developmentally is younger.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he might actually have had fewer years on Earth than Percy.
Yeah, he very well may have. But then, so Percy is finally publicly claiming Tyson. He does not apologize, but at least publicly refers to him as his brother. Which makes Tyson blush and everyone cheers. And Annabeth kisses Percy on the cheek.
I had forgotten about that.
Like a huge, like, step forward. Like, flashback to, like, the love ride. Yeah. Where they both couldn't, sit in the same like little boat together.
And this is the book where they're in the air bubble for the first time under the water. Like there's this is a very big like Annabeth and Percy.
The romance is really starting to happen in this book. It's starting to happen. And everyone cheers way louder after that. And the Athena cabin lifts him, Annabeth and Tyson onto their shoulders and carries them to the winner's platform where Chiron was waiting to bestow the laurel wreaths, which is where this chapter ends.
It is, and it means that Clarice and Annabeth and Percy and possibly also Tyson all get laurels in this chapter.
Yes, and all get their own moment of like being carried by a crowd of their fellow campers to like get a celebratory
which is kind of nice. Everybody gets, you're all winners. Everyone gets a little accolade, a little acknowledgement. And that's where you're saying Annabeth just like goes ahead and says that they left camp. So it's kind of like, was it a threat? Maybe not so much. Yes, but that is where we end. And if not for that's why I was saying like the cliffhanger comes in the middle of the chapter, because if not for the like, watch out, something's coming, we might be like, okay, why do I need to read the last chapter of the book?
Right. It is, and that is very in line with all of the like hints about what is to come, are all like in the midst of other things, or like obfuscated by other things that like take greater precedence.
Or like Annabeth looks troubled, or Chiron looks troubled, or Percy's like, I don't know if this adds up. Why did Luke say this? Like, it's a lot more subtle in this book. Yep.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
I think we already had so many thoughts. This was a long chapter.
It was. And the first long one longer. After a series of shorter ones.
Yeah. So that was interesting. It felt different. Yeah. It's another like classic longer 3-section chapter. So yeah. But no, I mean, we have one more chapter left. That's wild. So I'm like, let's go. I'm excited for what's happening next.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me too. I think I shared all my thoughts. I am just itching to get to the ending and the reveal, and I can't believe that we are about to start the Titan's Curse.
I know. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Well then, without further ado, we will see you next time when we read Sea of Monsters, Chapter 20, the final chapter of the book. The Fleece Works Its Magic Too Well. Bye.
Bye.